I'm Aaron Baker from PhoneDog.com, and the Motorola X is here in the office and it's packing quite a punch. That said, it's only got a dual-core processor and there are some areas where perhaps it could use some improvements in comparison to the other high-end devices on the market. Is it worth it? Let's find out together in part 2 of the Moto X full video review. Part 2 of the Moto X full video review on PhoneDog.com. Now I'm going to jump right in part 2 and pick up where I left off in part 1 with a couple of important notes. First of all, go watch part 1 if you haven't already. Second of all, this device is coming to AT&T, Sprint, and Verizon and is going to be available, at least, I should say it's going to work on T-Mobile. T-Mobile is not planning to stock it, at least right now, in the retail stores, but you can get one either through Motorola, I'm assuming, or somewhere unlocked online. So that said, AT&T's got the lock on color customization. So when you see on the Motorola website the Moto Maker stuff, it's exclusive to AT&T, but if you are on AT&T or you want to switch to AT&T, you can customize the back color here, you can customize the buttons on the device itself, and then you can customize the front to make it either black or white. Now if you're on Sprint or Verizon, you either have to go with the white or the black unit, and my assumption is that AT&T will sell the white and the black in the store as well, and then you have the option to customize maybe in store and it'll generate an IMEI. And then AT&T, my little nerd retail brain starts to think, and I'm like, how in the world are they going to process this? You probably don't care about that, but AT&T is the only provider in the US that's going to have the ability to do the color options via Moto Maker. That said, this device is $199.99 through all three carriers, and it competes head-to-head on a price standpoint with the Galaxy S4, the HTC One, the LG Optimus G Pro, the, I'm assuming, LG G2 when it comes out. Quite a few options in that space. Is it worth $199? That is what we're going to try to find out even more in part 2. Before I get too far into that, special thanks to Best Buy Mobile. When you walk into Best Buy Mobile, you'll get everything set up. It's part of their walkout working program. They'll get your Moto X customized and ready to go for you. Let's take a look here at the device itself. It kind of resembles a stone, and actually the first thing, and I know every Apple hater on the video is going to hate me for this, but it actually resembles very closely to a Magic Mouse. That's the first thought that I had with this device, as you can see by the curves and the overall look and feel. Micro USB charging port here at the bottom. This looks like it's textured, but it's actually not. You do have a place for your index finger here, which I like a lot. This thing just feels good in the hand, and that's something I like a lot about the Moto X. Yes, it's kind of mid-range in some ways, but I love how this feels in the hand for a long phone call. If you haven't kept up, I'm using this as part of my 30-day challenge on PhoneDog.com. So I've been working with this as my personal device, and I've been pretty pleased with it. Nano SIM card slot over here on the left. Volume rocker on the right, power button, and with Moto Maker you can customize the color of those. 3.5mm headphone jack up top, 4.7-inch 720p AMOLED display on the front with on-screen buttons, back, home, and recent applications, and Android 4.2.2 Jelly Bean. 2,200 milliamp hour battery, which we'll talk at in length, or talk about in length, I should say. We'll talk at it too. We'll say, hey battery, charge faster. And then you can see up here as well, while the camera focuses in, I've got an AT&T 4G LTE logo right up here in the top as well, right there. And then of course my AT&T network ID and Android 4.2 running in full glory in the background. So again, let's jump right in here and take a look at the website here. You got Chrome pre-installed on this device out of the box, and everything's pretty quick. I mean, portrait to landscape transitions are nice and fast. Obviously this is a mobile version, so it's not going to pinch to zoom, but portrait to landscape pretty quick here. You've got the stock Android keyboard that you would expect with 4.2.2. Little to no lag, and you'll see that in 4.2, you've got the customizable button down here at the bottom, which back, I can click on it, go down, and that changes around depending on what application you're actually in. No real surprises there. Everything else is pretty clean and pretty stock. 5 home screens here. The applications area looks familiar. Widgets here, and you can see all the stock Android widgets here in addition to stuff I've downloaded. You've got things like analog clock, you've got digital clock, you've got Facebook buttons, you've got email, Drive, etc., etc., etc. Nothing really surprising here. And then a quick look through the wallpaper so you can see what comes out of the box. That's the one that you see in most of the advertisements. You've got a bunch of different options here that all utilize the colors of the display. This is actually one of my favorites as well, so we'll switch it to that for part 2, and you can see kind of what it looks like there with a couple of different colors. So we'll jump right there, or stop right there, I should say, and jump right in to the settings where we're going to pick up, actually, you know what, we're going to go into messaging. I want to show you something right here. So you can see this 404-333-2757. It's a demo phone number I have in the office, and this is something I really like. Motorola's got, and obviously there are third-party solutions for this, so when I say this, you're going to be like, that's not a benefit. I can download one of those off the internet. You may not sound like you're 80 years old, but what you can do, you can obviously download this off the internet. That said, I like the fact that Motorola Connect is available as a Chrome extension, so I can download it in my Chrome browser, and I actually do have it here. So for example, I can go to Motorola Connect on my computer, and I'm clicking on it right now and it's loading up, and I can say something like, hey, so when I'm at work, I have my phone face down, or I'm in the meeting room, and I've got a conference room I'm often in right across from my office when I bring PR people in here, or we're having meetings about stuff. It sounds really important, meetings about stuff. Anyway, I can go in there, and I often leave my phone on my desk or leave it face down. I'm the world's worst for leaving it somewhere. Well, with Motorola Connect, I can see my call log, I can see who's calling, and then I can send text messages as well. So for example, I can say, hey, and I just sent a hey text message from 404 or to 404, and you saw it just populate right there. So it's on my computer. You can't really see it with this camera angle, but if I were to text back, it would pop up as a pop-up on my computer screen. So really nice there. And likewise, when people call, it pops up and says incoming call from, for example, 404-333-2757. So really a cool touch. Jumping right in, we'll take a look at speed test and quadrant standard, starting with speed test for AT&T. Now 4G LTE obviously works pretty well in the Dallas metro area. It's one of AT&T's 2 home markets. We'll hit begin test here and take a look and see what we get in my office. But overall, speeds have been incredibly fast. No differences here, no surprises here in comparison to all the other AT&T phones I have in the office. Nothing really crazy. It's actually the slowest speed I've seen so far with the Moto X before I factory reset it. I've got about 6.4 megabits per second on the download. Let's see what the upload was. Fast, slowed down a little bit. And obviously, we're kind of in rush hour now too. It's 5:15 here in Dallas, so the rush hour may be playing a role. Or rush, I should say rush 3 hours is what it often feels like. But 5:11 p.m., 8.11 or 8.11 megabits per second on the upload. We'll take a look at quadrant standard as well, just to see how this compares. And as always, take it with a grain of salt. But if you're comparing it to, your Note 2, your Galaxy S4, your Optimus G Pro, whatever it is you have right now that you're thinking about upgrading from, this is going to be worth checking out. So you can see here, battery life 2,200 milliamp hours on this device. I don't know if it's my unit. I should point this out. Quite a few reviewers and quite a few people on the internet have been incredibly pleased with Motorola's battery life on the X. Moto claims that you can get up to 24 hours of battery life with this device. I get about 10 to, I'd say 13 to 14, depending on how I milk it throughout the day. If I'm doing heavy, I'd say light heavy use to heavy moderate use, I find myself running out of juice before the day's over. My HTC One, the Samsung Galaxy S4, the devices I've worked with, I find the battery to be slightly better on those. That may just be my use patterns or may have been the way that I use. There's not an exact science here, obviously, so again, take this with a grain of salt as well, because our usage patterns are different. Mine's very different from yours. That said, I do struggle to make it through a full day on this one. I have another Moto X unit coming at some point in the near future, so we'll put those batteries to the test. And I'll continue to use this as part of the 30-day challenge, so I'd encourage you to check that series out as well, because I'm really using it quite literally as my personal device. So it's nice to see those things that I find out even after 10 or 15 days, for example. Sending benchmark results right now, and let's see how this sucker performs. It is taking its time to send those results. While it's doing that, we'll continue to talk about the battery though. Overall, depends on what you want. And I will say this device is nice and thin and light, despite only having a 2200 milliamp hour battery. I place it somewhere slightly faster, or slightly longer maybe than the Galaxy S3, but slightly less than the Galaxy S4 and HTC One. So very interesting this is taking so long. So finally it loaded up, 8,907 on this device. And you know what, I want to tell you guys something, because you hear me say this a lot. It really depends on what you want in a mobile device. First of all, take that with a grain of salt. But second of all, it really depends on what you want in a mobile device. This is a fantastic unit that tries really hard and succeeds at being a good phone. The reception's fantastic on this device. I've had no issues with that. Speakerphone's fantastic. Battery life maybe could use a little bit of work, but I love the way this thing feels in the hand. I'm on conference calls all day long as part of my job, and I love holding this up when I'm traveling or when I'm on the road or whatever the case may be. On the road meaning flying, not driving. I don't text message or call while I drive. But you can see here, finger right here, easy to hold in the hand. This thing is a great phone, and even though it has Android 4.2 in the stock build, it's got some great goodies under the hood. Motorola Connect's great, you got Motorola Assist, and then with stock Android, you can customize it as much as you'd like to, but it still brings some pretty good software goodies to the table as well. Again, keeping that in mind, if you want more software goodies, you may be better off with the HTC One or the Samsung Galaxy S4, something of that nature. Keep that in mind, but for all things considered, the Moto X is a great phone. Is it worth $199? Depends on what you want. With that said, it is a good phone. I'm happy Motorola released it. And even with the the dual-core processor, Motorola's X8 architecture works well. This thing is fast. I've had no lag whatsoever. And with 2 gigabytes of RAM, it's moving along pretty snappily. Keep it locked on PhoneDog.com for more on the Moto X. I'm on Twitter at PhoneDog_Aaron, Facebook, Facebook.com/Hi Aaron Baker. Let me know what you think of this device. And as I move through the 30-day challenge, let me know what you want to see covered in the Moto X challenge. Thanks so much for watching. More to come. And as always, I'll see you next time.